Evening YouTube, what's going on guys? So we are here doing something a little bit different, a little bit new. Definitely new. Yeah, a lot new. This is going to be our first ever video game review. It's actually going to be an indie game review because I love indie games and I want to share the games that I play with you guys. This first one's special though because we actually joined by the wonderful, the beautiful, the fantastic Dormant Volcano Games, aka Brian.
Yeah, no, I go by Brian. Anytime someone tries to call me Dormant, I'm like, I'll allow it, but...
I always call you Dormant.
But yeah, no, it's been a whole lot of fun playing this game with JD. I'm super excited to talk about it, so you guys can get hyped for our playthrough. I'm here, I'm ready. Let's do this.
To be honest, guys, we literally just finished playing and beating the game about an hour ago. So we are ready to talk about this. So let's not waste any time and let's get into this. Alright guys, so the first thing we want to discuss is definitely just a general overview on the games. General thoughts, opinions, all that good stuff. What we thought on a baseline level. Personally, I thought it was amazing. It's a great game.
I agree with JD. Totally amazing, super fun. I never really wanted to put it down. The way that we kind of schedule things is we record for like a couple hours and then, you know, we both had things we need to do afterwards. But at the end of every recording session, I was just like, I don't want to be done. Like, what's the next section? Like, what are we doing next?
I know, right? For me personally, I just wanted to keep going. Like when we were finishing, I'm like, do we have to? Are we sure we can't like fit another like 30 minutes into this?
Yeah, which kind of stinks.
Are we sure?
Because
one more episode?
We both have jobs. So like when we record on the weekends, like, or just do anything for either of our channels, like weekends are the only times that we have. And we were just like, this 13-hour game, we want to find a way to just finish it. We're having that much fun.
We did what, like 4 or 5 weekend recordings?
Yeah.
We probably could have fit it into 4 if... I think we did 5 weekends. We probably could have fit it into 4 if it wasn't for some scheduling issues the second to last weekend.
But that was just great.
Yeah, fantastic. It's also really easy just to pick up and put down. You can do 30 minutes, an hour, something like that, and just put the game down. Like, if that's all you have time for, that's all you have time for. You're not gonna want to put it down.
Oh God, no.
But if you only got 30 minutes with your significant other to play a video game, or your best friend, or some random guy on the internet, hi Brian.
Random. We've met.
It's
Once
true.
in real life, but we've met. That's not true. Twice. We've in real life met twice.
Twice in real life. But yeah, it's so easy just to pick up and play. Like, you really don't need to do much. It's like, oh, I got like an hour. You want to knock it out? Yeah, let's do it. Just play. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Also, just one thing that I want to say is it's something that's kind of across the board with all of their games. They're all couch co-op games. You need that other person to complete any of the levels. It's not like, oh, we're playing together for fun. Like, the puzzles are set up in such a way that you can't play alone. There is no way that you play this entire game just yourself. You have to bring someone in, whether it be, you know, your friend, your significant other, or just some rando on the internet. Hey, JD.
But yeah, I completely agree with him. The couch co-op experience for me, it's old school. I grew up couch co-op. Like, that's what me and my friends did. We loved playing games sitting on a couch together, and I always missed having that. I got real close to picking up their last game. Honestly, I can't remember the name of the studio. Right here is the name of the studio, just right there in big bold letters, because I don't know it off the top of my head. Almost picked up their last game, A Way Out, to sit down and play with Alicia. I kind of wish I did, and I probably will soon after playing this, because you're just sitting there playing a game with your friend or whatever. What we used to do when we were in like middle school and some in high school.
Also, just multiplayer games in general, there always seem to be this sort of experience that like each person has their own screen. Whereas, you know, like what me and JD remember is there's just something about a split screen where you can see what the other person is doing that just makes things more fun. It's like, yeah, if I'm doing this on my screen, I want to know what, you know, JD is doing on his screen. So I kind of enjoyed that aspect of this game, that we were both seeing the same split screen.
Yeah, it definitely made it feel like we're sitting on a couch with one another, even though we're hundreds of miles apart right now. It gave
Maybe.
That...
You'll never know. We could be neighbors.
I mean, whatever. But it definitely gave that feel of like playing a game with your friend on a Saturday afternoon, just sitting there on the couch together. That's the feeling that it gave, and I love that. And I think that's fantastic to just bring into this current world of gaming.
And I feel like we should mention, it is actually possible to play on a couch with someone. You don't necessarily have to have two systems. the game is set up in a way that you could play local just on your actual couch.
It's funny. I actually had to look that up because I wasn't sure. My friends had asked me about it. They're like, could we actually even just play sitting next to each other? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't see why not, but let me go check first.
You're an idiot.
I am. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about the story now. To me, the story is one of the most important parts of any game. I'm definitely a story gamer. I'm not a big fan of like shooter games or online games that just don't have any story to them. If you want to hook me in, you need a good story. This one hit the nail on the head. Will say, just my one single quarrel. There's some weird pacing, in my opinion, with the cutscenes. I feel like we went from them arguing 24/7 to like just kind of getting along, and then all of a sudden they're okay with each other. I'm like, where did this progression get? It's weird because you didn't have that problem throughout the gameplay. Like their conversations while you're playing the game, you get more compliments. You see this development. Honestly, I was kind of like, why do they seem like they argue more in the cutscenes than they do in the gameplay portion of it? I don't know. That was a weird takeaway that I had.
I would definitely agree with you in the fact that it seemed like the relationship in cutscenes and the relationship like while we were actually playing the game definitely seemed to be going at a different pace. I agree with you there. One thing that I would have to say is I'm not going to talk on how the game actually ends, but it ended better than expected. It's one of those things I was kind of expecting that at the end of the game they were either going to work through anything even after the entire experience and everything was to go back to normal, or they were going to go to I don't even know why we were getting divorced in the first place. And I feel like it did better than I expected.
I completely agree. It takes a course that you're kind of expecting, yes. But it goes in a direction that you're kind of like, okay, it's not the direct path. And I like the fact that it kind of gives a more realistic standpoint, I feel like. It's not magically done, it's just realistic. Even though there's a lot of magic involved.
Yeah. Also, one thing I did want to say, though, about the cutscenes was the fact that in some games, whenever a cutscene pops up, I'm kind of just like, this is long, this is annoying, just like put me back into like the thing of things. I was actually very much enjoying kind of learning their story. We were never really disappointed when a cutscene popped up. And of course, there was always kind of a time where, at least when it came to us playing, we sometimes were just so engaged in the game that there wasn't a lot of time for us to just chat. We would sometimes use the cutscenes as the time to kind of just chat, catch up, see how the other person was doing, but also just, you know, react to what was happening kind of in a Mystery Science Theater type of way.
Here comes the big question. On a scale of 1 to 10, Brian, what are you going to give the story of It Takes Two?
So I'm going to give the story, just based on everything I said, with kind of the progression that we see through the actual game, and then also with the help of cutscenes, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.
Personally, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Weird pacing just kind of like rubbed me slightly the wrong way. But other than that, the story itself is fantastic. Everything about it, it's so well done, and I love it. Up next is the characters. So, up first, we get to talk about my character, Cody.
The divorce was Cody's fault. Just want to say that right now.
The divorce was not Cody's fault. It is a shared, what word am I looking for here? Crap.
Responsibility.
Sure. It was a shared responsibility. The divorce was between both of them. They both made mistakes.
Let's talk about the actual parts of
characters.
Like the actual purpose that each character is a part of. So I'll let you talk about Cody.
Okay. All right. So he's gonna let me talk about Cody now. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I love Cody. Like, he's annoying in some portions, yes, and I just kind of want to go, why are you saying this? But he is very creative in his solutions to things. He definitely has fun with everything that he's doing, and he's crafty. Like, when you get to see what he's done for his daughter and like her bedroom, like what he's made for her, and like all the things he's done with the different toys and what he wants to do with his garden, like, oh, there's so much, and I love that crafty aspect of him. It's so much fun to see.
So guys, now we're going to talk about the character that I got to play during the game, May. She was kind of the person that was out of the home doing all the work. And in the game, that kind of comes across as her being kind of the logical and precise one. Kind of just like, we need to think about this like this. Certain things in this world should work like this because that is how they work in the real world. Certain instruments can kind of be used as kind of tight ropes because they're taut, various things like that. Whereas there are certain sections of the game, Cody kind of gives the response to, we need to think of this like a fantasy story. They kind of work in this sort of wonderful harmony in how their two characters work.
Let's move it on and talk about some music. Alright guys, let's move on to a very important part of any video game, the music. Now with this, I will say this is probably where the game, I don't want to say it fell flat for me because it was good music, but I feel where a lot of video game music stands out above the rest is when amazing music can be heard and you actually pick up on it because it sounds so good even while you're playing a fantastic game, where this music kind of just blended in. It wasn't bad by any means, but I definitely didn't feel like it shined like in some of the other games that I absolutely adore the music for, like Ori and the Blind Forest, amazing soundtrack, absolutely beautiful. Undertale, again, the music in that game is fantastic. For this one though, definitely feel like it was just kind of there and didn't really jump off the page.
So I'm not as musically inclined as you are, JD. I basically, growing up, failed at playing the flute. And when I listen to music, it's kind of just an ear thing to me. Like, I just listen to it and I kind of decide whether or not I like it, knowing nothing about music whatsoever. But I would definitely agree with your sentiment that it kind of just blended in. It wasn't bad. Like, there were no games where I was just like, man, can we just turn off the music, please? But, like, it kind of was just there.
I absolutely love the music in the attic because the attic actually felt like the music popped off. Now, when you get there, you realize music in the attic is a big portion of it, so it kind of makes sense. They put more effort into it, but I feel like if they put that kind of effort into the rest of it, the rest of the music would have been a lot more impressive to me. You'll see when we get there in the gameplay why I say that the attic just pops off so good, like the different styles of music, the different genres, like there's so many different aspects and you're just hearing it all so clearly and it's like standing out against the game itself, but it also fits in well. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's just so good actually hearing it over top of whatever you're thinking about the game, whatever your puzzle you're trying to solve, the music is coming through clearly and it's just like chef's kiss, just I love it. What would you say is your score for the music? Like, what are you gonna give it out of a 10?
I give it about a 6 out of 10. Like, it kind of just didn't blend in. It wasn't bad by any means, but like it really didn't help the story or any of the gameplay, with the exception of the one section that JD was talking about with the attic. So yeah, I'm kind of just gonna give it kind of a flat, 6 out of 10.
So I'm gonna go a little bit higher than you on this one again. I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10, just because I do think it was well done. It blended with the game, which is what you want. You don't want it to stand out in a negative way, because that'd be a real big downfall. But at the same time, it didn't stand out to where I'm not gonna go out of my way to find a Spotify playlist of this game. But it was good. I still enjoyed it. So next up is the gameplay itself. Probably the most important aspect of any video game is how did it feel to play it? What did it look like? What different aspects of the game were just fun to do? I think for both of us, honestly, the level variety and versatility is absolutely incredible. I know we both had our own favorite sections. For me, when we get to the tree, oh my god, it's beautiful. It's so well done. It looks fantastic. The puzzle aspect for the tree, in my opinion, is on point. It's probably the one that I think made us think a little bit more than a lot of the other game, and that's probably my favorite portion of it. Also, I really liked one of the first, I think it is the first level, the shed. Just going through, you had two fantastic bosses in that one. One of them really gave us a struggle, and I think we might have died the most in the shed. It was good though, it was a lot of fun, and the creativity from like the tools that you get to use in that section of the game, the boss, the puzzles that you're doing, like all of it just so seamlessly fit in. It's just so much fun, and it's a great introduction to the game too, because it is the first real size level that you're playing.
If I had to pick one section, it would be where we got to play as the knight and wizard, just because it felt like we were playing like a tabletop game, and that was just a whole lot of fun. Then the other section was kind of the skiing portion of the snow globe. You would think when you get to that part of the playthrough, because I spent, I think, the entire episode just screaming my head off like a chicken that would be my favorite part, but honestly, just having to constantly think about what to do next just made a really fun experience for me.
Another thing that kind of goes into the level variety is also the mini games. Each level had multiple mini games inside of it, where it's just a contest between the two players. They were real quick. They took like maybe a minute per round, and I think the longest one probably would have been an actual game of chess that you can play within this game. Curling is in this. There's a snowball fight, whack-a-mole. There's so many others. My personal favorite, the plunger shooting with the targets. I don't know what the actual name of it was. Forgive me for butchering it, but you're aiming plungers at these different targets, and as you hit it, it flips it around and starts moving towards your opponent. And if it makes it all the way to the end, you get the score. So it's just kind of like trying to fight back and forth. At first it's just one, but by the time you get to the end, there's almost 6 of them in different spaces, spinning and moving and around. It's chaos, and I loved it.
So my personal favorite was probably Whack-A-Cody, which is, as JD said earlier, Whack-A-Mole, just because I got to hit JD's character with a mallet. That's it.
If memory serves correctly, though, you didn't hit Cody very well at all.
Okay, so one thing that I would just like to get out in the air is a lot of the minigames that we were able to find, because I think we missed maybe like a quarter of them, but we hit most of them throughout the entire game, so you can have an actual like well-rounded playthrough. Unfortunately, JD beat me the most. There were a couple times where I got a good win in, but most of the playthrough, JD beat me in all of the minigames.
It was a fun versatility thing to it, just like something else to do while you're playing this game. And they threw a lot of that in there. There was moments where you could actually paint with your characters, you could pose in funny pictures, and there's so much you can choose from in that. You never really get bored with it. There's so much to do. Like, you're always wanting to explore. I think multiple times both me and Brian had to tell each other, all right, we need to move on. Come on, we're recording right now. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, they were kind of just a nice kind of reprieve from the rest of the game. Not that we needed one, but like we wanted to get back in. And I guess the last part that we want to talk about is playability. I never got bored. I mean, I said it like a couple minutes ago, but I never really got bored playing. We both kind of had the problem that even though we have lives outside of these channels, like we didn't want to stop playing this game. Like we just had that much fun with it.
I agree. Like, you don't get bored playing this game. You could sit there and want to play through it honestly in a whole day. Like, if you had a day just to sit down with a friend and just play from start to finish, you probably could.
No, you would need 13 hours. But you could do it.
We both know that those game estimates, like, you can push it a little, you get a little less. But yeah, there's so much to do, and like the different tools and skills that you get, like every level you change what items that you're using. Some of them are a lot cooler, more interesting than others, but all of them were really easy to pick up and learn. It wasn't a super complicated system, but it still added this amazing versatility to the game that I absolutely love.
Like, there were some sections where it was, sap and a gun. There was other sections where it was a hammer and nail. Wizard and knight, where I got like fire powers, where his were more kind of ice related. Like every 30 to 40 minutes, like the game kind of just changed, and you had to figure out these new mechanics. And you'd think a game that just constantly changes its mechanics, you would be like, I want to stay on one mechanic the whole game, and it not be this toy box of just mechanics. But with each new mechanic, you just get to play this different game that is just so much fun.
And that also adds into the puzzle aspect of the game too. All of the puzzles were different and challenging in their own way, but none of them were like super impossible. Some of them took us a few more minutes than others to figure out, but all of them were pretty quick fire. Like, okay, like look around, let me see. Like, oh, what if we did this instead? Oh, what if we tried this? Like, there was constant like testing of different strategies, thoughts on what could move and what couldn't move. The game didn't just explain everything outright. So it definitely added that more creativity aspect and actually like trying to do a few different things.
Let's go into our scoring for this particular section. I gave the gameplay, I think it's the strongest part of the game, a 10 out of 10.
It's definitely a 10 out of 10. Like, every aspect, the different levels, all fantastic. The mini games were fun. It was so easy to play. Like, I think that's something that we don't always think about in a video game, but it was easy to play. It wasn't a challenge. It wasn't super difficult.
I mean, it was difficult, but it was never too difficult.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
There was never a section where we wanted to just take both of our collective controls and just throw them at our collective screens.
I think it is time to jump over to our overall thoughts and score. How about it?
Agreed.
This game was fantastic. Amazing. There are definitely a few things that I was not 100% on. Obviously, you've heard my individual scores thus far, but for me, it is definitely a 9 out of 10 game. I would recommend this to anyone that wants to play a game with their significant other, their best friend. It's easy, it's fun, it's enjoyable. There's nothing that I would take out of this game. There are a few things that I might change, but nothing I would remove entirely. I think every aspect of this is great. The level designs are fantastic. The characters are amazing. Just the gameplay itself is so much fun. And the music is good. It's not like the best thing on earth, but it is good. Solid 9 out of 10. Brian, what are your final thoughts?
Once again, kind of you were to take all of my scores, which I usually went a little bit lower than JD. But really, I'm a tough critic, both myself and everything. But if you kind of combine everything together into this kind of well-rounded game, I would definitely play this again if someone wanted to play it with me. So just for everybody, I gave it a overall score of about 8 out of 10.
Well, you've heard it here. If you had to put our scores together, you're getting an 8.5 out of 10. I think that's a fantastic score for an indie game. Brian, how much was it? 30 bucks?
Yeah, that sounds about right. If not, I'm sure they'll put it in the video somewhere.
If we're wrong, we're gonna correct it right there. There's the price tag. But yeah, go pick this up. Have fun with a friend or family member, someone. Like, it's a great game to play.
But before you do that, watch our playthrough.
Yeah, that too. Definitely go and do that. Which, the first episode will be coming up this Saturday on Dormant Volcano's channel. Go check out the link in the description.
There's going to be a master collaborative playlist between me and JD. You'll be able to find it on both of our channels. If you follow it and click from one video to the other, or you wait until we're completely done, you are able to watch it in order, starting with review all the way down to our last episode, without having to navigate from one channel to the other.
Speaking of your channel, what are you doing next? What's the next game that you're going to start playing?
The next game that I'm going to be playing, I will probably be in the middle of it by the time this review drops, is we are going to be playing Watch Dogs Legion DLC Bloodline, where you will once again be able to play as Aiden from Watch Dogs 1 and Wrench from Watch Dogs 2. I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. And then after I wrap that up, we are going to be going into one of my favorite games from 2012, Sleeping Dogs, where you get to go undercover with the Chinese Triad.
Nice. Well, I think as far as our live streams go, me and Alicia are probably still playing Zelda and Sly Cooper as this is coming out. As far as the next pre-recorded content I got coming out, it is going to be River City Girls. I've had to catch up on that game to fix some recording errors, but it is coming. I promise it'll be out soon. Don't know exactly when, but look out for it. Probably within the next month or so, I think you'll be seeing that. Without anything else, Brian, if you want to say goodbye to the people, remind them where they can find you.
I would like to say my goodbye, but also just before that, I would like to say a quick thank you to JD for letting me be a part of this. It was a whole lot of fun. You can find me over at Dormant Volcano Games. There will be a link to that in the description down below. I play a lot of puzzle and stealth games, but also I have a series every Sunday night where I usually try and attempt a new game, usually trying to pick games that I normally wouldn't play, just to, figure out if I'm actually good at them. It's like, yeah, no, I don't play, looter shooters very often, but if I did, would I be any good? Could I become the master of looter shooters? You have to just watch to find out. But that's me saying goodbye.
And with that, guys, please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Join our Discord server, link in the description down below. Be a part of the Tubbs community. And hit that bell notification so you know when the videos are coming out. If you've done all that, say down in the comments, say you've done all that. I want to know. I don't believe you. Put it in the comments.
Do it.
Do it. I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. With all that said, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. And I hope you enjoy the playthrough of It Takes Two. We'll see you later. Peace.